Hello, I'm Tim Smith with the Adams County Historical Society, and welcome to another Monuments Monday. And on this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about the Irish at Gettysburg. Of course, one of the most famous units associated with the American Civil War is the Irish Brigade. At Gettysburg, it consisted of the 63rd, 69th, and 88th New York Infantries, the 116th Pennsylvania, and the 28th Massachusetts. The brigade saw heavy action at the Sunken Lane at Antietam, at the Stone Wall at Fredericksburg, and in the wheat field at Gettysburg. The monument to the New York regiments of the Irish Brigade is one of the most notable on the field, with the Celtic cross and, of course, the Irish wolfhound. In the description attached to this video, we have provided some links to a tour of the Irish Brigade in the battle by one of our guides, John Fitzpatrick, and also a link to a really interesting discussion about the Irish wolfhound on the monument and whether the wolfhound of today is actually a descendant of the wolfhound of old. Of course, there were Irish sprinkled throughout both armies at the Battle of Gettysburg. The 69th Pennsylvania Infantry from Philadelphia were positioned at the angle on July 3rd. The 9th Massachusetts Infantry, Irishmen from Boston, have a monument on the slopes, a big round top. And one of the most famous incidents of the battle involving the Irish is commemorated right here on the front of St. Francis Xavier Roman Catholic Church in downtown Gettysburg. Now, Gettysburg doesn't necessarily have a huge Irish population at the time of the battle. The 1860 census lists Gettysburg with 2,390 people. And only about 14% of them are foreign born, and less than 1% of the people in the 1860 census give their birthplace as Ireland. The number's probably a little higher in the surrounding townships around the town. And there is strong ties with our early settlers to the Scotch Irish, but I don't know about you, I don't consider the Scotch Irish Irish. Some other people might disagree. Many early Catholics moved into this area from Maryland early on, though, and there was a huge influx of German Catholics into our area in the 1840s and the 1850s. The St. Francis Xavier Parish was founded in Gettysburg in 1831, their original church being on South Washington Street. The church at this site was dedicated and completed in 1853. And of course, during the battle, it was used as a field hospital. The first wounded being brought here on July 1st during the first day of the battle. And the wounded were not evacuated from this hospital until September. And of course, many of you are probably familiar with the fact that Sally Myers cared for the wounded here after the battle. We're fortunate that we have some photographs of the original church dating from the 1880s. The front of this church was greatly renovated in 1925, and you can see the plaque on here talking about the renovation. The plaque up here was designed by Samuel Murray, the same man who sculpted the Father Corby monument, which was erected along Cemetery Ridge in 1910. On the afternoon of July 2nd, Father William Corby, the chaplain of the 88th New York, gathered the Irish Brigade around a rock, and he granted them general absolution. Major St. Clair Mulholland of the 116th Pennsylvania was present that day and left a stirring description of the events. And in 1891, the event was commemorated by a painting by Paul Henry Wood. According to Mulholland, the brigade stood in column of regiments closed in mass. As a large majority of its members were Catholics, the chaplain of the brigade, Reverend William Corby, proposed to give a general absolution to all the men before going into the fight. Father Corby stood on a large rock in front of the brigade. Addressing the men, he explained what he was about to do, saying that each one could receive the benefit of the absolution by making a sincere act of contrition and firmly resolving to embrace the first opportunity of confessing his sins. As he closed his address, every man, Catholic and non-Catholic, fell on his knees with his head bowed down. The scene was more than impressive. It was awe-inspiring. The painting that we just highlighted is now currently on display at the Racklin Murphy Museum of Art at the University of Notre Dame. Mulholland pushed to erect a monument to Father Corby on the Gettysburg battlefield, which was erected and dedicated on October 29, 1910. In the collections of the Adams County Historical Society, there's an image of the monument. The image has attracted great attention over the years because of a small boy who sticks his tongue out at the camera in the image. Included in the description below, I've put a link to a video and an article about the painting Absolution Under Fire by Paul Henry Wood, and I hope you'll find that interesting. Also, I don't have a link to it, but you can buy it on Amazon. It is a book by Trish Murphy that was published by the Farnsworth House here in Gettysburg. And the Farnsworth House has a little bookstore, gift shop, and you could buy it there. I just saw they have a whole crate of them. But this book talks about the Irish Brigade at Gettysburg and also highlights the dedication of the monument to Father William Corby, and talks about whether the rock that the monument is on today is or is not the actual rock where he stood during the battle. So if you're interested in that, you can learn more about it. On the other side of the entrance to St. Francis, we have another memorial tablet honoring the Sisters of Charity from Emmitsburg. And this plaque was also dedicated on May 10th, 1925, and it was also sculpted by Samuel Murray. Some 40 Sisters of Charity arrived from Emmitsburg after the battle and nursed the wounded in hospitals around the town. To celebrate the 100th anniversary of this church in 1953, several stained glass windows were added. One of them a tribute to the Sisters of Charity who ministered the wounded and dying in this church. So yesterday was St. Patrick's Day. So some other places you might want to visit in our town associated with the Irish are pubs. Of course, we have many fine establishments in town that feature dinner and alcoholic beverages. The Dobbin House and the Farnsworth House, both supporters of the Adams County Historical Society, come to mind. But there are two pubs in town that highlight Irish cuisine. Of course, here we have O'Rourke's Irish Pub, which is named in honor of Colonel Patrick O'Rourke, who was killed in the fighting on Little Round Top on July 2nd, 1863. We also have Gary Owen Irish Pub, which is named after a song. So to make it simplistic here, Gary Owen is a name of a village or neighborhood near Limerick in Ireland. The song is an Irish jig dating from the late 1700s. During the Napoleonic Wars, it was adopted as a marching song by the 88th Regiment of Foot in the British Army. Prior to the American Civil War, it was adopted by Irish militia units in New York City, and later by the 69th New York, the Fighting 69th. And later, the song was adopted by the 7th United States Cavalry and was said to be a favorite of George Armstrong Custer. Remember, if you like the historical content that we put on our YouTube channel, please like and subscribe.